Ready? Let's call to order the Spark City Council meeting of Monday, November 13th, 2017, with a roll call, please.
Mayor Martini,
Here.
council members Abbott.
Here.
Lawson. Here. Smith.
Here.
Bybee. Here. Deere.
Here.
City Attorney Adams.
Here.
City Manager Driscoll.
Here.
We have a quorum, thank you.
Okay, opening ceremonies, invocation speaker, we have Pastor Christopher Dare of the Freedom Fellowship. He's one of our councilmen also. And he's going to give the invocation, and I apologize, I can't stand up for him, but.
If you join me, but as you would for a moment, it was just Veterans Day, and if you're a veteran, would you just raise your hand so we can take a moment? Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Lord, we come to you and we thank you for our veterans. We thank you for our country. We thank you for all of the sacrifices that have gone into just the amazing things we get to walk forward in our own freedoms. Lord, we also do pray, Lord, for those who are in active duty right now, with those families with Christmas coming up and Thanksgiving coming up, and a lot of their family members are still off fighting wars and doing what needs to be done for our freedoms and for our protection. Lord, I pray for our time together as a city council that you give us wisdom, and I thank you for this amazing city. Lord, I pray for our mayor, and I pray you be with him and each thing he faces. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for the kind words, Chris. If you remain standing, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. Miss Bybee, would you lead us?
I would. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Charlene. Okay, let's move on to number 4, which is public comment. Anyone that wants to make public comment under this area needs to fill out and give to me a card similar to this or like this, or hand it in to the clerk. And if you make the comments before you hand this in, then you can fill it out afterwards and give it to the clerk. So I will call you up one by one. You have 3 minutes to make your public comment. I see we have quite a few here, so if you have something that's redundant or about the same, try to be as short as you can and say that my public comment is similar to or the same as so-and-so. This doesn't mean you have to speak if you don't want. You could just say you're in opposition of or agree with the project. Or whatever you have to say. This looks like most of them are on the same deal. So let me start with Bill Wagner. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, if I might, we had discussed earlier before the meeting that quite a bit of the conversation today might be about item 9.7.
That's what I was referring to, yeah.
As you're aware, I will be requesting that 9.7 be withdrawn. And the reason being that I've received a letter from the developer that they want to withdraw that project. And so there will be no first hearing today. 9.7 will not be on the agenda. And so as usual, Mr. Mayor, you normally let people know that if they want to still talk, they can. But that project is in fact going to be withdrawn, which means for it to come back, it has to start over from scratch and go back through Planning Commission. So on your next agenda item 5.1, I'll be asking to remove 9.7. Thank
I
you.
apologize, Mr.
No, sir.
Manager. I forgot all about that.
Thank you.
So everyone understand the project is going to be withdrawn. It will not go forward. The developer that's doing it will completely redo the plans and resubmit them to the city. So it's going to come back. There's no doubt about that. But it will be under different plans and things. So if you don't want to do the whole 3 minutes, you're fine. So I'm sorry. And then there's other things you need to talk about.
Fine, thank you.
Go ahead, sir. You have 3 minutes.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, my name is Bill Wagner. And the case number that I'm going to talk about was PNC 17-0023. Now, as Stephen has mentioned, it's dead for now. I just want to thank a few people. First of all, I'd like to thank Don Abbott and Charlene Bybee for responding to my emails. I'm very grateful for that fact. William, thank you very much. All I'm asking is, as soon as you know what the developer's plans are, please let me know. I sure hope the revision will be for single-family homes. That would be ideal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Next, we have, I can read it, oh, anonymous, I'm sorry. I always have trouble with that one, I don't know why.
Ink when that writes out, so it's.
Well, you know, our budget's pretty low, so we have to, trying to conserve.
And it's good to see you here, Mayor.
Good to be here, good to be seen here rather than viewed here.
Yes. My microphone is red. Does it need to be green?
Fine.
Okay, okay, thank you. I'll pick up where I left off. The new microphones don't seem to be picking up as well, so I'll speak up. We believe these to be the court administrators of the two courthouses in the city of Sparks, and both of them are illegally destroying child abuse evidence, and you have this document. It's the minimum records retention schedule. This is the written document they're using to destroy child abuse evidence in court case files. Again, this is a minimum records retention, not a maximum, and they're interpreting it as a maximum. You do have copies of these documents. You can find them on Google. This is another court administrator, and her name is Teresa Prince. She went to prison, but she is a district court administrator. District court is not here in Sparks. However, the other two court administrators are here in Sparks. She also was destroying child abuse evidence. This document, you have this document. This is Art Ritchie's letter. He's a president of the district judges throughout the state of Nevada. It says domestic violence should not be swept aside or hidden. However, it must be remembered that it is a very private crime. And please listen to this. Arrests are not readily made in a majority of those cases where a protection order is sought. Why not? Why are arrests not being made when protection orders are being requested? You'll need to ask this man and ask him the hard questions. Why has domestic violence been on the rise for 10 years? Why are we the most domestically violent state in the nation? If he doesn't tell you that Sparks and the state of Nevada founded the Oath Keepers movement, and this is law enforcement and military persons, including veterans, who demand their rights to own guns. This isn't a gun issue, this is domestic violence, but this person plays into why officers are not arresting domestically violent gun holders. This is Eddie Casals. Okay, I guess you can't do both. Eddie Casals founded in the state of Nevada Equal Rights for Divorced Fathers. Again, they're trained on how to get either protection orders dismissed or denied. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Next is Ron King.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Members of council, I respectfully pass at this time. My issue has been addressed.
Thank you, Mr. King. Nick Seeker? Sheeker. I just read it wrong. Go ahead, sir, you have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and fellow Sparks City Council members. Thank you for having me. My name is Nick Sheeker, and I am the Director of Community Leadership at the Community Foundation of Western Nevada. I have spoken to you a few times in the past about our caregiver support initiative, and I wanted to provide an update to all of you. So the caregiver support initiative is directed at the needs of unpaid family caregivers to seniors in our area. So if someone is taking care of an aging spouse, mother or father, or other family member, how they can get connected with the right resources, education, and other forms of support. We've been leading this initiative for a little bit over a year now, and one of the most important things is in listening directly to family caregivers to find out what are their needs and what are actionable steps we can take. So we've really created 2 products based on the top priorities listed by family caregivers. And so there are 2 items called Washoe Caregivers. One is a website, washoecaregivers.org, and this catalogs over 320 different resources related to family caregiving in our area. We do have a few resources that are nationally based that are more focused on education, but we heard from so many caregivers that it's hard to find resources, it's hard to find help. There have been different resource guides made in the past, but some of the difficulties with them is that they aren't comprehensive or that they may contain outdated or inaccurate information. So we designed this website cataloging 300 different community resources, and most importantly, we had family caregivers in the room with our web developer test out the site so that we wanted to make sure that it's something that's going to be used and that it's user-friendly to senior caregivers. The other item that I have copies for all of you is this guidebook called Washoe Caregivers. And this is basically an instructional manual for new first-time caregivers. We've heard from a lot of them that they oftentimes enter their caregiving situation unexpectedly, unsure of how to get started. So we have composed this guidebook with a team of about a dozen volunteers. Many of them are experts in senior healthcare, and then also current caregivers themselves who have been in this situation, and they offer tips throughout it. We looked at over 30 different guidebooks that have been done nationally and really took the best elements of each of them to combine it in a way that's going to be relevant to caregivers in Washoe County. The guidebook is being printed in the thousands. We're giving out about 1,500 copies each month and has now been incorporated into part of the discharge planning process at all of the major area hospitals. So if I may, I would like to give copies to each of you. And if there is anyone at City of Sparks Department that would interact most with seniors, this is just a free resource that we have to educate caregivers in our community. So I'll pass these out. So with our initial print run, we printed about 5,000 copies. We are printing additional copies in Spanish now, and it's just a free tool that we hope can educate caregivers in our community and provide some extra support for them. So thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Any questions for Chris? Was Chris, right?
Nick.
Nick, close again. Any questions for Nick?
You'll answer to it.
That's true, yes.
I guess you did a pretty good job, pal.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Randy Canal or Canali? Canal, okay. I should have known that name. I just met you upstairs.
Pleasure was all mine. Greetings, Mr. Mayor, council members, staff, and all the members of the general public in attendance today. My name is Randy Canali. I'm training coordinator for the Local 350 Pipe Trades Apprenticeship Program, and I'm also president of the Northern Nevada Apprenticeship Coordinators Association, also known as NACA. I'm here today speaking because this is National Apprenticeship Week. This is a nationwide event that's going on right now. Earlier today, packets were dropped off to all the members of the council here for you to look at. And I'm just here to briefly speak about so many of the benefits of registered apprenticeship programs. There's a great need for a skilled workforce. We all know that there is a shortage of construction workers going on right now. We're trying to bring in members to bring them and get them trained up and to do the work properly and things when they do get into the field. Average age of a construction worker right now in Nevada is approximately 50 years old. So we really have a graying workforce. And we know how much construction is going on in this area right now, and so we do know how important it is. And one of the best ways to train this workforce is to have registered apprenticeship programs. I represent NACA, as I said, and we are coordinators for 11 union apprenticeship programs. We represent over 500 registered apprentices that are just in our programs alone. It's also kind of known as the other four-year degree, but we also think it's sad that these are some of the best kept secrets for jobs that are out there. Our training centers are very good. I'm here to also welcome you, any members that would like to tour our training facilities and see what actually goes on at these training centers. We're pretty proud of what we do there, and we don't want it to be a good kept secret. We want the word out that there is possibility to bring all this training to the people that need it. You know, there's a saying going around right now, it doesn't matter how attractive we make our region for new business in this area, if we can't build it, they aren't going to come. And so construction apprenticeship programs are very important. They have a large part to do with it. There's no cost to apprentices when they get in the programs. They're 4 or 5 year programs. Usually in that time frame, they can earn somewhere around $200,000 in benefits, money and benefits, instead of owing college money at the end, getting their degrees. And you do get college credit. We're all associated with Truckee Meadows Community College, and you all have an opportunity to get college credit through these programs. They start out with a good wage. They're able to earn a good wage. Most, if not all of them, have benefit packages that include health insurance. It doesn't just cover the apprentice, but it also covers their entire families, and we know how important that can become as well. So I'm kind of running out of time here. I just wanted to say again, please, if you would like to, we'd be more than welcome to share our facilities with you and have anybody come down and take a look at it and see what we do. I thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Randy. Any questions for Randy?
I have a question.
Yes.
For somebody to join the program, do they have to be referred to by an employer, or can they go down and then worry about employment after?
Majority of our programs are open enrollment. Like our program right now, we are taking applications and we hold interviews. And no, you do have minimum standards that you have to do. These are registered with the State Apprenticeship Council. And like ours, you do have to have a high school diploma. Most of them require that. Those that don't usually require it within a year or so of the time. And the only reason is because they are college-type courses. They're not just a fallback position. And the requirement for a diploma or something like that, or the GED or HSE, is because they're predictors of success. If you really don't have that minimum requirement, you may not be that
So
successful.
typically, if somebody's in the apprentice program, they're working as a plumber or a apprentice plumber.
Working
carpenter.
alongside journey workers, they're
Yeah.
getting both the classroom training and on-the-job training as well, all at the same time, and that's what I mean. They're actually earning and learning all at the same time.
Thanks, Randy.
Ms. Bybee?
Hi, thank you for being here today. And I just want to say this obviously is a great need in this community right now with the boom that we're seeing in construction, and the need for the trades is more than ever. And so really your program and programs like that, things going on at TMCC, yours is meeting a need that, the demand is, and I think I told you, I just remodeled a kitchen, and to try to find an electrician and a plumber is tough. And so we want people to be able, that opportunity for people to go into very good paying jobs. And not everybody, college is not for everyone, and the trades I think have always been important, but I think even more so now because we have such a demand. So thank you for what you do.
And I
Mr.
totally
Dare?
agree.
I'd like to take you up on that offer of coming down and seeing your place though, so.
Could I may approach the bench and give you one of my business cards? So
I think I have one, right?
You probably do. I'm Randy, yep.
Very
That
good.
would be fantastic. I'd love to have you come down. Please feel free to call anytime. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Okay, thanks, Randy.
Thank you.
Next is Brandon Ellercron.
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. Following on Randy, I'm actually one of the apprentices. I am an older one, but
A wiser one.
yeah, to touch base on the benefits of this program that I have witnessed, that I do greatly appreciate is, one is the education. Younger, the college was not for me. I had other activities that I was doing, and it just didn't fit into my schedule at the time. And now being able to enter a program like the apprenticeship and catch up on education is really well. And with all the construction going on up here right now, being with the union and knowing how much they take care of their community and the workers, a big part of that being safety, it is really good. It makes me feel better about going into being a professional in the trades, and knowing that they do care about you and want to see you succeed, along with making this community better. It's short and sweet. It's a good program for people who don't have any, don't know their options. They might feel limited on their options. So, just for them to even step in and see what it's about is good, and I think it would be good for the public to recognize.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Okay, Kathleen Shoup.
Works. I did have something I wanted to put on the projector, but do I have to hit this? Okay. All right. Here's something that came out in the Gazette Journal after we had a meeting. We had a little town hall meeting that took place at the Reno Elks Lodge, discussing the proposed high school going into Wild Creek Golf Course. And there was no one there that was for that project. And we really do think that it's a dishonest. Mainly, I think it was because of the way it was sprung on us. They came out on May 3rd or 5th or whatever it was, and said, "This is what's going to happen." And they had this schematic, this drawing of a beautiful layout, and took us all by surprise, so that we couldn't come up with many objections. My daughter, when she was young, called that being sneakerative, and I think it is. It fits very well. They were being sneaky, and I don't know what the ultimate goal is for these people. If it is just to break up that property, because it is a beautiful property, and if they use the 60 or 80 acres for the high school, then that's going to leave another 120, 140 acres for other usage. So the gate will be opened up for them to use that as they wish, and that could even include high-density housing because we see so many of those projects going up these days. And I hate to see the destruction of all that green space and the habitat of the critters, and just it's a shameful waste of our taxpayers' money. We have put so much into that golf course through the years, and I would really like to see it preserved as an open space, as a golf course. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we have Darlene Hesse.
Hello, everyone. I am Darlene Hesse, and I'm very concerned about Wild Creek Golf Course being taken away. This property is a $30 million property, cost the taxpayers $30 million. Now, to just come in and put this school in, this supposedly from Mr. Eckhart said he has no idea it will cost what it costs. That is a ridiculous statement. And to just come in and put the school in this major traffic area, this is unbelievable, and this should not be allowed. And I tell you, I have learned so much going through this, how unfair our media is with us. Whenever we go to talk at the Washoe County School District, Well, when the cameras come in, they don't allow us to have our public comment. As soon as we have our public comment, the cameras leave, and they've done that to us several times. And I just think it's an unfair thing. This is a championship golf course. It's a unique property. It's a floodplain, and you should never build on a floodplain. And whenever it floods, there will be so much trouble in this area for the people. And on, I can't hardly believe, it will go down to McCarran Boulevard. It's going to flood. That's one of our main fairways. To get to every part of this town, we need, like other highways and everything up above. We need the school built in a different area. There's so much other property. It's just it's a crime to take this beautiful property. There's so many beautiful animals, and people enjoy this. And I'm telling you lately, ever since it's supposedly not on the calendar, I've never seen so many people over there playing. I don't know what they're doing with all this money, but I don't think they're putting any of it back into the golf course. I'm very disappointed, and I'm a Christian, and I love the man in the mirror. And when you look at yourself, when your life goes on, and you're responsible for taking down a beautiful, lovely property, that is not a good thing. I want to feel good in my heart that I know that I'm a Christian and I would never do that. And you people should think about that too. There's some higher place that you're going to have to pay the price for this. It's not all about money. Everything seems to be about money, money, money. This is beauty. This is a beautiful area, and it's going to cause so many troubles and so much harm for this whole area. You need to put this school in Sun Valley or out on Spanish Springs Highway. It's unbelievable. We have too much other property. Come in, tear down a $30 million golf course and put this school in that no one even knows how much it's going to cost. It's going to cause such a traffic jam that people won't even be able to get to work. I don't know when the people from the Galleria, when they fill all of those condominiums that are out there, it is so right now, bumper to bumper. I don't know where all this traffic is going to go. Seems to me like everything's kind of being run backwards here. It should be the highways first and then the schools. Thank you.
Thank you. One more, Peggy Rue. Now, Peggy, you know this item that you want to talk about is going to be canceled and redone?
I just heard. I
Okay, so
missed your announcement,
I
but
just wanted to let you know that, but go ahead and speak.
I was offered the chance to say my piece anyway. I have been in, my name's Peggy Rue, for the record. I live at 2722 Milenite Court now, up in Ventana. And I've been in these chambers many times when it comes to growth and progress, and I am all about change and I'm all about improvements. But my concern about this apartment complex up on Los Altos is so many things. Traffic, people, Bud Beasley School that has been so productive all these years and has produced so many great kids is already at capacity. The traffic is incredible. There's got to be some kind of a thing about roundabout etiquette. I don't know how to get through to people, how to use a roundabout, but if any more people drive up that road, it will be impossible without accidents. My concern is that I truly love being a citizen of the city of Sparks. I grew up here. I have been a product of this area. And I love, like I said, I love growth, but I really would like us to be careful about what we bring into the city, that we don't change into becoming Reno. I know there's a lot of differences, but we are really special here, and that's why my husband and I stay here. So progress is great, but I really do think that these people that want to propose an apartment complex need to look elsewhere. We do have a lot of open space, but what we also need is affordable housing. We have an adult daughter who can't find a one-bedroom apartment for less than $1,400 a month. And if you have a dog, they charge the dog rent now. Pretty soon the dog's going to have to provide its credit report. It's getting out of hand, and I know that we're getting all of this business and commerce into our area, but we need places for these people that we're inviting here to work and live, a place to live and to afford to live and to go to school in places that aren't overcrowded. So I just wanted to say that, and I will keep an eye on when this project comes back around, if it does.
Thanks, Peggy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy. Good
I
seeing
still miss you.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else in the audience wishing to speak at this time? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment and bring it back to 5.1, approval of the agenda. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. As it relates to the agenda, before you take your action, again, for the record, Steve Driscoll, City Manager. I received on November 8th a letter from Landstar Companies asking to officially withdraw the zoning change application PCN 17-0032. And the purpose of that withdrawal is for them to submit a new zoning application along with a development agreement that would start the process over and provide more information to the Planning Commission and the public, so the process would completely start over. So therefore, I'm asking the council to withdraw 9.7 from the agenda as was submitted. And as a result of that, this is a first reading. The second reading and public hearing that was scheduled and noticed to the public for the 27th on this will also not happen. And so we'll do our best to get information out that has been canceled from that meeting. There's no time frame on when this will return. It is clearly up to the private developer to now go back through the regular process and to do whatever's necessary to do a plan development or other things. So for the record, I'd be requesting that you withdraw 9.7 from the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Okay, anybody that wishes to make the motion, please recognize that we're pulling 9.7. Mr. Lawson.
I want to approve the agenda with the removal of item 9.7.
Okay, we have a motion. Mr. Abbott.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Okay, 9.7 is off. Okay, 6.1, consideration and possible approval of the minutes of the regular Sparks City Council meeting of October 23rd, 2017. Any changes? Mr. Dare.
I move to approve consideration and possible approval of the minutes and let that pass. 6.1.
Mr. Lawson.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. 7.1.
Donald?
Huh?
You want to give Donald?
This for you?
You want to do his proclamation?
Okay, we have a proclamation for Alpha One Awareness Month. Somebody here? Come on down. Come on down.
They always on.
Come, sit over here at the table. And then when he's done reading the proclamation, we'll get a picture, and then you can speak to us. Tell us who you are, and, okay? Thank you.
I sit.
There's two chairs.
You're the lady.
Sit down. Thank you. Mr. Abbott.
Okay. Yeah. Recover? Do you need to recover? Okay.
That's what you call sharing.
Sharing's caring?
Yeah.
All right.
She just had to walk away, so she needs
Okay.
more than I do.
Whereas Alpha One antitrypsin. I'm gonna say that probably a couple more times, I think. Antitrypsin deficiency, Alpha One, is one of the most common serious hereditary disorders in the world and can result in life-threatening lung disease in adults and liver disease in both children and adults. And whereas Alpha One has been identified in virtually all populations, and individuals who carry a single deficient gene may pass the gene on to their children. And whereas Alpha One is widely underdiagnosed and misdiagnosed, and fewer than 10% of those predicted to have Alpha One have been accurately diagnosed, and it often takes an average of 5 doctors and 7 years from the time symptoms first appear before proper diagnosis is made, which can be detected by a simple blood test. And whereas it is important to increase the awareness and detection of this serious hereditary and misdiagnosed disorder, and whereas during the month of November, a nationwide awareness campaign will take place throughout the country to educate the public as well as the medical community on alpha-1 detection and treatment for those affected by this condition. Now therefore, I, Gino R. Martini, Mayor of the City of Sparks, Nevada, do hereby proclaim November 2017 as Alpha-1 Awareness Month.
Thank you.
Why don't you introduce everybody? And
Okay. My husband, Steve, was misdiagnosed for we went through the whole thing, the 5 years, the 7-doctor thing. My name is Norma. I'm the support group leader. I am not affected myself. I am his stabber for his augmentation therapy. Karen Ralston, also affected.
Although I'm an MZ, I'm not fully deficient, but I'm still affected, as you can see.
Sally Dorff and her husband John, behind us here, has now reached the average age of the life of an alpha. She is 80 years old, so we know she's going to extend the life of alphas.
And we have another lady back here also.
Yes.
Both of you.
Okay.
What's your names?
Diana Harvey, and I'm at ZZ, which is kind of at the end of the alphabet.
The end of it. It doesn't produce the antitrypsin at all, so she needs all kinds of help to stay alive to be 80 and 90 years old like we are. And
I'm
Heather.
Heather Topfer. Sorry, my oxygen ran out, so if I seem kind of spacey, I'm sorry. I'm also a ZZ. There's 3 of us ZZs that I know of in the group. ZZ is the rarest phenotype, and it affects 6% of the population. I'm the average age of diagnosis. I just turned 40 last December. I will be 41 this December, and I've spent 8 years trying to get diagnosed. And the only reason I was diagnosed within the 8 years was because of the Healthy Nevada Project put on by Renown and 23andMe and the DRI project. So I'm on oxygen. I'm the youngest in the group, and I'm also on the most oxygen that I know of out of all of us. I'm on 24/7, and I'm going to have fun making it back to my car.
And she's also the rowdy one.
Yes.
Rowdy one.
I'm the big mouth of the group.
So does it take 7 doctors? Is that just the process, or they're not gonna believe the first 2
They
doctors?
don't believe you if you have any smoking history at all,
Uh-huh.
if you have asthma, any other lung problems. That's what they think it is. They often don't test, and it's a simple blood test. And so unless you pursue this, and asthma drugs do not work, other things do not work, and you keep going and you keep going until you find somebody that, I ended up at the National Jewish in Denver, Colorado, lung hospital to find me. And we can replace that protein once a week with IV therapy and maintain a certain level if we're diagnosed.
Heather?
I actually spent 2 years being told I needed to be put on antidepressants because it was all in my head, and that there was nothing they could do for me. I've had 3 surgeries trying to figure it out. They took out my gallbladder, still doesn't get any better. And then that's when they started trying to get me to push antidepressants. And they even had a doctor told me not to come back until I accepted to take the antidepressants.
Are these general medicine doctors, or they are?
Pulmonaries.
Do they have a specialist?
Yes.
Even pulmonologists.
Amazing.
But they're becoming more aware.
Amazing.
And ER doctors, urgent care doctors, primary care doctors, pulmonologists, cardiologists. I've seen them all. And they all told me that it was pretty much in my head until 23andMe came out and said that, no, it's not in her head. That she has legit.
Yeah, that's right. It's a rare, it's considered a rare disease, but 1 in 2,500 is not that rare. And so they learn it in medical school, but then it gets shoved in the back of the mind and they don't think about it.
Mr. Abbott?
Yeah, and if I can add, Biomat, one of our local businesses right down the way in Prater, it's very exciting because me and my mother, I bring her down to donate. I'll admit I haven't been for a month or 2, but it's really neat to see that our community is able to give back, to help you guys, which to what I was going with, it takes 70 donations of plasma?
90 donations to treat one alpha-1 patient for a year. So
For 1 year.
people have to donate in order to get me my infusions for 1 year, and then 90 for her, 90 for her.
Listen, we're gonna, if you can stand up, we'll get a picture with Donald. But Heather, do you need help to the car or a ride home?
People with me,
Okay.
so I'm sure between the two of them, they could probably
I didn't
manhandle
see your
me in
name.
the car.
Well,
Okay.
I'll give her some of mine.
Okay, Ms. Bybee has a question.
You can grab your cannula and use
I
mine.
had, I had one question when you mentioned 23andMe. Did the 23andMe testing
Yeah.
show that? So-
Yes.
So
Yes,
it's another
yes.
reason why people ought to look at, and Renown offers that, and I think they've extended.
They're gonna be
I
increasing it,
I
yeah.
did mine, but if they, is that a way that people
Yeah,
could get,
the
could find out that they
FDA
haven't, they might
released
not even know?
The FDA released that in April of this last year. That's how I found out, because I got the email saying you're red flagged for this thing. And only once the FDA allowed the 23andMe to release that information have they been releasing it. But if you get your if you get the full health risk report from 23andMe, Alpha One is one of the ones on there.
Sally mentioned about free testing,
Oh, you get free
Oh,
testing.
yeah.
Oh,
The Alpha
free
One Foundation
confidential
also
testing.
has free
There
testing.
is an
free
Alpha One
confidential.
Foundation out, and then there's the University of South Carolina does free testing like we used to do for HIV, which is anonymous and a number. So you can be tested for this and
And not
become a
end up in
number,
your
and
insurance records.
no one will, it will be confidential, even though we worry about hacking, but they say they update theirs all the time.
The test is very simple. You prick your finger, put a drop of blood in each circle, mail it in, 2.5 weeks later, you get your results back. And from what I've heard, it's mostly a disease from people of Norse descent.
Vikings.
Vikings, yeah.
Northern European.
Northern European.
And so many people who originally get this, they think, oh, I got lung problems or whatever. Now that I've learned what I've learned about it, my mother's side of family was all drastically affected. My grandmother passed away, my uncle passed away at 44, my mother passed away at 63. I just turned 71 and I'm the oldest one in my mother's side of the family. It's very, I hate to say this, but most pulmonologists don't know anything other than they've heard of it. So,
They're becoming aware.
Yeah.
sure.
You look like a group you don't want to mess with.
My first pulmonologist told me that I was the first ZZ genotype that he had seen in over 20 years.
Is that right?
They tell them in medical school that they probably will never see
You'll
one.
never see this
Yeah.
person. You'll
That's
never
what they
see, and
tell-
here
Yeah,
I am.
but
There
1 in
you are.
2,500, they're gonna see us.
Well, listen, thanks for coming down today, and if you can stand, Donald, get a picture with everybody.
Thank you for your time, and if you can pass it on to people that you see that have lung problems.
Certainly.
I'll get tested.
Thank you.
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. All right, get up here with another picture. Can I just want to stay right here so I can hold on to the thing.
You guys are the important ones. I get too many photos as is.
Thanks, Steve.
Yay, thank you. Thanks, folks, thank you.
Oh, it is. Take care.
You know, it'll be easy to get in the chair though, Eddie.
Maybe we'll get to the meeting now.
Okay, let's move on to consent items. We have 8.1 through 8.5. Anybody want to pull one? Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion. Mr. Lawson.
Move to approve consent items 8.1 through 8.5.
Second, Mr. Abbott.
Second.
You have a motion by Mr. Lawson, second by Mr. Abbott to approve the consent items. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Unanimously, thank you. Okay, let's move on to general business. 9.1, consideration and possible confirmation of the mayor's recommendation to appoint Kareem Shabazz to the Sparks Planning Commission from the following pool of applicants listed in alphabetical order: Joshua Fink, Paul Freeman, Joanna Lee, Kareem Shabazz, and William Wagner. Questions? Mr. Lawson.
Just a comment, I ran across this young man's resume, highly qualified, got a business degree, was in the Navy, I believe, for 12 years, wants to be involved with this community, and I was quite happy to pass his name on to the mayor.
Thanks, Ed, and that's why I picked him. Your recommendation and his application are very impressive, so that was one of the reasons.
So if you want to volunteer with the city of Sparks, we'd love to have qualified people and some not so qualified. I mean, look at me.
And me. Is Mr. Shabazz here per chance?
He's not.
Okay, well,
Unfortunately, I know he's a hardworking young man too.
do you have a was that an approval, Eddie?
I'll make the motion to appoint Kareem Shabazz as provided by for the mayor.
Second, Ron Smith.
Second?
Okay, it's been approved or motioned by Mr. Lawson, seconded by Mr. Smith to approve Mr. Shabazz as a planning commissioner. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate that. You'll enjoy this young man. He's a good kid, a good guy. Kid for me, but.
Yeah, when you.
Consideration, discussion, and possible adoption. This is 9.2. Consideration, discussion, and possible adoption of resolution number 3325, repealing resolution number 2690, and establishing the procedure for appointment of persons to represent the city of Sparks on various boards, commissions, or similar groups, and providing for matters relating thereto. Ms. Gardner.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council members. I'm Teresa Gardner, your city clerk. I'm here today to ask you to approve this resolution. This is replacing an older resolution that was outdated and needed of revision to bring the process into the current procedures. Some of the changes that we made, we are allowing citizens to apply at any time. The previous resolution only allowed them to do that twice a year. We are adding social media in our recruitment process as well as advertisement in our meetings. We're deferring to the bylaws for the individual boards and commissions for term limits rather than establishing them in the resolution. And we're allowing the mayor to approve citizens to serve on multiple boards when that's appropriate. And then just some other cleanup language. But this revision just really cleans it up and brings it to what the procedure has been brought to. So I'm here for any questions if you have any.
No questions, but a comment. I like the part about the mayor being able to appoint someone on two committees if needed, because we have so many people on committees that are qualified for, sometimes let's take like the one we did for the school district where they all got together, people that needed to talk about the tax increase and all that. We had a guy that was on a committee already, Sean Carey, who's used to be our city manager, knows all about taxes and how they impact the city and the state and the whole bit. So I really wanted him on another committee, so I appointed him anyway. So that's just.
That's the reason for the update.
Don't tell your lawyer.
Yeah, I will not. But that's just one prime example of people we have in the city that are qualified to do something like that. And that, to me, was a very important thing for the city to appoint somebody to. And last but not least, Sean Carey's a gentleman that that I know is honest and I can trust him. And that's one of the reasons why I think this is a good change. Christopher Dorff.
I'd like to go ahead and make a motion ready for that, and I'd like to also say that, I like that it's on Facebook. I like that it's open to as many people as possible, because hopefully the more our community gets involved in any of this stuff, it's just great. So, I move to approve resolution number 3325.
Have a second, Charlene?
Yes, I'd like to second that and also say I appreciate the more outreach so that more people, and not the limits of only in a certain time frame. Because inevitably, I'll see one and I'll write it down, and then the time has expired. So I like keeping an open process because we really want to encourage more residents to get involved in the city and to hear their voice. So I appreciate the changes and the cleanup on this language. Thank you.
Yeah, another point is we're getting less and less people to apply lately, and it's time that we pick up the rope here and run a little harder because we're not getting enough people to apply for some of our boards and commissions. And these are important things to the city, really. Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, please vote. Passed unanimously. Thanks, Teresa.
Thank you.
Who worked with this? Who worked on this with you?
Cindy Logan?
Okay. Thanks, Cindy. Okay, 9.3, she's in the office of city manager. She's not here with us today, but she's probably watching. 9.3, consideration and possible approval of a construction contract for the Victorian Square Infrastructure Phase 1 project, bid number 1718-008, PWP number WA-2018-010, in the amount of $634,000 to Q&D Construction, Inc.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of the City Council. Could I get the map? There's an exhibit map on there. Could I get that put up? It's like on the 3rd page.
That's a fine exhibit. Looks like
For the record, my name is Brian Kaysen, Capital Projects Manager for the City of Sparks. I'm here today to present the Victorian Square Infrastructure Phase 1 project for consideration and approval to Q&D Construction. The purpose of this project is to update the overall aesthetics of the streetscape area along Victorian Avenue. This first phase includes the removal and replacement of existing pavers, removal of existing tree planters, construction of new larger tree planters that will not only minimize disruptions of the trees during replacement, but accommodate tree growth and provide a larger seating area around the trees during events. The project also includes the removal and replacement of various areas of existing sidewalk in need of replacement, along with the installation of electrical plug-ins for tree lighting. The area of construction includes the center median and the north side of Victorian Avenue from Pyramid to 10th Street. There were 4 bids submitted ranging from $634,000 to $788,000, with Q&D Construction being the low bidder. Staff is recommending Q&D Construction be awarded the project. With that being the end of my presentation, I will answer any questions you may have. I just wanted to put it up there just to see the delineation of the area we'll be working on.
That it, Brian?
That's it. You guys got any questions?
Mr. Dare?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, we were at a meeting last week, and just overall to our city, the businesses down there and the business groups are very excited about what's happening.
Yeah.
And so this will just be an added, another thing that will just continue to bring people down there and continue to establish our downtown, and it's pretty exciting, so good work.
Yeah, it's going to be a great project.
I would like to say how excited I am this is finally happening.
Yes.
Because we've been a little delayed on when we thought we would start this project. And Brian, it's still, this is going to be like the template to see if what you put in that first phase is what we want to continue. This is kind of our test area. Is that true, or
Yeah, so, I mean, we hope that everything works, but obviously, if there's something that comes out that's like, well, maybe we need to change this or modify this one, then it'll make it a little bit easier to visibly see it. And then as we go along with the future phases and with whichever phases we decide to go on, it'll bring some uniformity throughout that area.
Right, and my understanding too on the phases, the sections have been broken up by numbers, but they're not necessarily going to take place 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of the construction and everything going on, you'll determine what section comes after the initial one of
Yeah.
when the streetscape is improved on the next section.
Yes, I'll be talking to basically Armando and other management and obviously all of you to determine which phases we move on to for the following fiscal years.
Okay, and I do appreciate the fact we've added in this phase, we're adding the electrical because I'm really excited about the fact of lighting Victorian Square so that we have a district that's lit with the LED lights that has started at Fountain House and that our section will be lit. And when people come downtown, it'll be beautiful, feel safe, and it'll create the whole feeling that we want to see in Victorian Square. So I appreciate that the wiring will be going in. I know the lights aren't necessarily will be in this project, but it's the start of it, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, it'll provide the power to all the trees. There is power to a lot of the trees already, but we'll provide power to all the trees. And then obviously our maintenance staff will take a look at what works out the best for them in terms of being easily maintained, and hopefully we'll keep the same lighting going on throughout that whole corridor. So we don't have like mix and match lighting all over the place.
Your comment, Brian, I like this project, the way it's set up, because we can, if we do one phase, it's not as good as we want, where there's some changes we see, we have the chance, it's a work in progress, we have a chance to do some changes and make it look better as we go along, and then maybe go back and fix something. Because anytime you do a project like this, there's always those things that are unintended consequences, are there not? So I think this is a good open plan, and it's a living plan, and it's a working plan, so that's good. You say you're gonna light up the Victorian Square, so maybe our new motto can be, come to Victorian Square and get lit up.
And I'm ready to make a motion.
It's just a thought, okay? Charlene.
Yeah, so with that, I'd like to make a motion. I move to approve the construction contract for the Victorian Square Infrastructure Phase 1 project with Q&D Construction, Inc., in the amount of $634,000.
Second? Donald?
I'll second it.
Moved by Charlene Bybee, seconded by Donald Abbott to approve 9.2. That's the right one, yeah. Any other questions or comments? 9.3. 9.3, I'm sorry. Questions, comments? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, Brian. Good luck on this. It looks like it's going to be super. 9.4, consideration, discussion, and possible authorization to the City of Sparks Attorney's Office to file or cause to be filed an appeal of an arbitrator's decision in a personal matter to the Washoe County District Court and for legal fees of an estimated $5,000 for possible action. Ms. Eiding, go ahead.
Thank you. Cheryl Eiding, on behalf of the City Attorney's Office, this afternoon we're here asking for authorization to file an appeal of an arbitrator's decision in a personnel matter. It's our belief that the decision handed down by the arbitrator is an unauthorized remedy, and we're asking your authorization to file an appeal. The case is being handled on behalf of the city by Alice Mercado. She is present here today if you have any questions of her. In addition, Frank Flaherty is present. He represents the employee, and he does wish to make a statement to council under a public comment section after I'm finished here today, prior to the vote, if that's okay.
Very okay.
Mr. Flaherty?
Flaherty? You have 3 minutes, Mr. Flaherty.
Thank you.
Plead your case, or whatever you're going to do.
For the record, I'm Frank Flaherty. I represented the employee involved in this particular arbitration. I'd like to respectfully offer some information to the council. You're going to get advice from your attorneys, of course. One thing I'd like the council to bear in mind is the very high burden of proof the city will carry into district court in seeking to overturn the arbitrator's decision. The Nevada Supreme Court requires clear and convincing evidence, which is much more than the usual in a civil case. You just have to have a preponderance of the evidence, a little bit more. You're going to need much more in this particular case. And when it gets there, the judge is required by the decisions of the Nevada Supreme Court to apply a very deferential standard. The judges are going to try the case all over again. It's not what we call a de novo proceeding. There is no civil service issue here. There's nothing unauthorized about the arbitrator's decision. Under the collectively bargained agreement at issue, an employee has an option to appeal discipline either through a civil service appeal or through a grievance. And whichever one you select basically displaces the other one. And in this particular instance, the employee selected a grievance, which means the civil service rules are not applicable in this case at all. In the contracted issue, the city made a contractual commitment to the employee group that the arbitrator's decision would be final and binding. The arbitrator conducted 2 days of hearing. There were 10 witnesses. There were more than 1,000 pages of exhibits. The arbitrator didn't delete any provision of the contract. He didn't amend any of the provisions of the contract. Courts are very reluctant, as they should be, to second-guess an arbitrator in this particular circumstance. I would urge the city to honor its contractual commitment to final and binding arbitration and vote no on item 9.4. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Flaherty. Okay, we'll bring it, any other public comments? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to council and Ms. Eiding. Are you finished, Cheryl?
Basically, just to let you know that I disagree with Mr. Flaherty's position in this case as to whether or not the civil service regulations apply. Our office believes they do, and we believe that it is necessary to take this forward to district court and an appeal of the arbitrator's decision.
Okay, questions for Ms. Eiding? Chet?
I'm sure that many of you are wondering why we are here today. The Nevada Supreme Court has required that all governmental attorneys appear before their governing boards and request permission whenever we file an appeal. And the merits of the appeal, the city's position are not at issue here. We are simply complying with the Nevada Supreme Court's order and asking you for permission to appeal this matter. So that's why we are here, just like our ordinances require us to appear before you, this body, whenever we want to initiate civil litigation. So it just consolidates the professional rules of ethics, and we are here simply to ask for your indulgence. We believe it's appropriate to appeal, and I think we've done a pretty good job of representing your legal interests over the last 30 years, and I think that this is something that needs to be done.
Okay, thanks, Chet. Any questions for Chet or anything? Okay. Mr. Lawson?
I'm ready to make a motion if you're ready, unless someone else has comment.
Always ready for a motion, Mr. Lawson. Well, go ahead and we can ask for questions before we put it through,
Well,
one way or another.
based on our attorney's advice in our meeting prior, in our attorney-client privilege meeting, I'm going to move to authorize the appeal of the arbitrator's decision in the personnel matter.
Mr. Smith?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any questions? No questions? Okay, seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Thanks, Cheryl. Okay, 9.5, consideration, discussion, and possible decision regarding a settlement offer of $42,000 for a personal injury claim. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, City Council, Assistant City Attorney Allison McCormick for the record. This agenda item asks you to consider whether to accept or reject a settlement offer of $42,000 in a personal injury matter arising from a vehicle collision involving the claimant, Ms. Renee House, and a City of Sparks employee driving a City of Sparks vehicle. It's the City Attorney's Office's recommendation that you reject the settlement offer. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Ms. McCormick? Mr. Lawson?
Ready to make a motion?
Shoot.
Once again, based on our attorney's advice, we're going to go along with our attorney's recommendation to reject the settlement offer of $42,000.
Mr. Smith?
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Lawson, seconded by Mr. Smith. Questions? Any questions? No questions? Please vote. Passes unanimously. Thanks, Allison.
Thank you.
Okay, 9.6 has been pulled, is that correct?
No, 9.7. 9.6, 9.7.
Can you- Can I make these 9.8, 9.10 or something, because I can't get these straight. Mr. Driscoll, 9.6, presentation, discussion, and possible approval of a request to the Nevada Department of Environmental Protection, NDEP, Washoe County Health District, and Truckee Meadows Water Authority, TMWA, to report within 30 days the result of negotiations of reinstating a water projects waiver to Tumwa and to provide the local elected officials status reports on the processing of water projects at least quarterly. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Steve Driscoll, City Manager. For the record, a week ago on November 6th, there was a concurrent meeting of Washoe County, City of Reno, City of Sparks, the Truckee Meadows Water Authority boards to discuss water projects, which has been a development issue and question as to approvals and process. At that meeting, at the end of the meeting, by the time there was some action taken, we did not have a quorum of this body. And so I've brought this before you on request of Mr. Lawson, because we'll have a quorum today to kind of discuss the outcomes and ask for a motion that would request that the three agencies that were in the title finish our negotiations so that Tumwa could have their project waiver reinstated that allows them to approve projects within a certain realm, which speeds up not having multiple people look at the same thing with the same conclusions. And also, the second part of the motion would be to request that until the elected officials are satisfied that this is working in a very efficient manner, that there be at least quarterly updates on the operational improvements between the three entities that have to work together, working with our development community to help speed along new development for both commercial and residential. And with that, I'm prepared to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Lawson? Go ahead, Mr. Driscoll. No questions. Yeah, I got one. Steve, is there any meat in this thing as far as if the entities are not given the reports or whatever? Is there any anything we can do in return to have them make sure they give us these reports? What if we don't get the reports and they go on 6 months or whatever?
Well, Steve Driscoll, for the record, the Truckee Meadows Water Authority is overseen by an elected board because we own that company between Washoe County, Reno, and Sparks. And so as the individual members that sit on this board sit on that board as well. They certainly, if the compliance of this board's not met, they can bring that up there. Also, we have representation on the Washoe County Health District through Mr. Dare. And so he has the ability as a voting member of that body as well, that if for some reason they're not meeting the will of this elected body, that he can take it up from that standpoint. When it comes to the state, we'll see. Right now, we have a very good working relationship with Department of Environmental Protection. They themselves are wanting to see the waiver get back through so that they're not as involved in having to look at processes because they believe the professionalism and the certified engineers that are at Tumwa can do the job within the restrictions of the waiver. And so I believe that while there may not necessarily be teeth in this motion, we certainly have enough political power to drive it at least 2 out of the 3.
And now that you said that, I think that's correct. I wanted to make sure that we knew that we have board members on there that can drive this, not the state, but 2 out of 3 is not bad. So we have an opportunity to get this done. Mr. Lawson.
Yeah, this is an important issue. This was unilaterally decided by the health department to do away with the waiver. And it added anywhere from 8 to 16 weeks onto the permit time at a time when we are experiencing our fastest growth in the region. And it's basically took all production and construction to a screeching halt. And for what we can't figure out at this point, why it's another interpretation made by one person or possibly 2 people that basically screeched to a halt all of our development. The problem that I see in this is a much far-reaching problem, is that as rents or leases are coming up on apartments, they're getting substantial increases for the people that are living there. So if you're on a fixed income and you are paying, let's say, $1,000 a month, and the landlord says, well, you know what, I can get $1,500 a month, you can't afford that. So now we've just created another problem where we're taking our working poor, our fixed income folks, we're kicking them out on the streets and adding to our homeless problem. This was an ill thought out plan by whoever thought it out. It needs to be corrected, it needs to be corrected quickly, and we need to hold their feet to the fire.
To me, Ed, it's obvious who's stopping this, people that don't want any more growth.
Well, I think it's
just
more
people that wanna
complicated,
stop-
but.
Stop growth. I realize there's a lot of no growth people out there, no growth groups, and they don't want growth. Mr. Smith?
I'm ready to make a motion then.
Shoot,
Anything else?
go ahead.
Okay. See if I can get this right. I move that this council request that the NDEP, the Washoe County Health Department, and Tumwater provide certain information on a timely basis, which has not been done.
Second, Mr. Dare.
Yes, I'll second, but I'd also like to say something. The decision was made there, and do know that it didn't come before the health board, and that's a conversation we're going to have and time to come. And so the conversation is ongoing to find out how to make sure things of that size. I mean, it's not a decision for me. Obviously, there's more board members there, but I will bring it up.
But you would think that it would have gone to the board before you make a unilateral decision that
Yeah.
affects the entire community, not just one person or one entity.
I just want you to know, but I think it's important for us to know it did not. It did not, and so we will have that conversation as we go, and we'll continue to hopefully fix these things. And I think a lot of things have been tweaked and move in the right direction. I don't know that the whole community will feel the full effects of them yet, because the machine, well, it takes time to get some of that stuff moving, but hopefully we move quicker. But I do second it as well. Thank you.
And like I said, I think I can pretty well guarantee you, if you go back through the paperwork and find out where this came from, it'll be from the no growth groups and things that are around this area. I mean, it's just, to me, it's too obvious when somebody wants to slow down things because of water and those kind of things, when really they don't understand the explanations you give them, so. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do you have a comment? Go ahead, Shirley.
I just wanted to say, I agree with Councilman Lawson as far as what is done to our development, but people in their apartments getting priced out, but also the cost of all of our development that's happening, and that the cost of construction goes up every day. So every day that you delay by 1 day, by 1 week, these projects is costing exorbitant amounts of money, which again will be passed down to the consumers ultimately. So they're really at a time where we are trying to fill the inventory that we need for affordable housing, for other projects here in this community as we grow so quickly. We can't have, this is inexcusable to have this kind of a delay on any of our projects. So we have to get it moving. And I think we definitely have to keep their feet to the fire and make sure that we do get this resolved, and then get those permits out there in a timely manner, because it costs everybody in the end. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Lawson, seconded by Mr. Dare to approve 9.6. Any further discussion? If not, please vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you, Steve.
Gino, the motion was by Smith.
Was it? I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You guys
For the
talk so,
record,
you guys
so
talk
we're
so
all
long, I
clear.
forgot.
I know.
Smith and Dare, okay.
So long.
Smith and Dare. 9.7, first reading, no, it's not really. It's not a first reading, is it?
Smith and Dare.
It's been
We're skipping that
Go
one.
to 10.
So it's just gonna be pulled, oh, it's been done already, when I was out messing around, okay. You guys do things without me, doesn't it matter? Okay, let's go on to the public hearing and action items unrelated to planning and zoning. 10.1, public hearing, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of resolution number 3326, establishing certain benefits offered to the city attorney and municipal court judges. Mr. Cruz.
Good afternoon, Mayor Martini, members of the City Council. For the record, Neil Cruz, your Assistant City Manager. I am pleased to be here today with what will amount to the tail end of the employee pay resolutions as part of our collective bargaining and overall, pay schema for for all of our city employees. It's been a long road. There's been lots of people involved on both sides of the table, and I'm pleased that it has been a cooperative effort. Going one step further, the first three items that I'm going to present to you today, actually the only three items I'm going to present to you today, are all intertwined. And we're going to start with a resolution for the city attorney and our municipal court judges, and then we'll move on to a resolution for the mayor and the city council, and then I will end up with the executive employee resolution. The reason that you're seeing those three are all due to changes that we are proposing to be made in the executive employee resolution. Those are impacting the way benefits and people are paid, and inasmuch as the current resolution that covers the city attorney, our municipal court judges, and yourselves references the executive employee resolution, those changes are having impacts in there. So we want to do a couple of things. The first is to get out of the situation where we have one resolution referencing another. So we want to have individual standalone pay and benefits resolutions for each of the three groups. The judge with the city attorney with the municipal court judges, the six of you as elected officials, and then the executive folks who are your employees. So we're starting here with the city attorney and the municipal court judges. As I've said, their existing resolution is tied to the executive resolution. It's about 18 years old, so it's certainly time for us to get into taking a look at this thing. And as I've said, changes in the proposed executive resolution will impact the benefits for the city attorney and the municipal court judges. So we have worked to draft a resolution that will separate those. Whereas the old resolution did reference the executive resolution, and the city attorney and municipal court judges is tied to the pay of the executive department, or the department heads. Boy, I'm having trouble getting words out of my mouth today. Is tied to the pay of the department directors that are covered under the executive resolution per the Sparks Municipal Code. Changes that we make in there will impact their pay. And inasmuch as in the executive resolution we are proposing to remove the car allowance section and the cell phone allowance section and move those into base pay, that will impact adversely, without change, would impact the pay and the benefit package for the city attorney and municipal court judges. So we're teasing those apart so that they would enjoy those benefits as well. And then making one non-cost related change that we've done for all the other groups as well. And you'll recall for the other collective bargaining units over the years and then through the resolutions this time around, we were dropping the requirement for 50% dependent care coverage. You'll recall that was in the management professional technical folks, and the deputy police chiefs. So we want to drop that back so that we don't have anybody who's being paid by the city being required to pay 50% of that dependent health care coverage. And so that would be the one proposed change in here. As much as it sounds like this resolution as it stands has pay changes in it, it in fact does not. There is nothing that we are asking you to approve in here today that is going to impact the way our city attorney, our municipal court judges are being paid. Any changes that are approved would come in the executive resolution. So that's why the staff report indicates that there are no financial impacts with that, and that's because, strictly speaking, the approval of this resolution does not do that. So with that, I think I've overcomplicated things a bit. I'd be happy to try and answer any questions that you've got.
Questions for Neil? Mr. Lawson.
So Neil, explain the insurance benefit and how that came about, because I happened to get elected a few months after that went into effect.
Okay, we, going back to a little over a decade ago, it was the city's intent to get to a place with all of our collective bargaining units and all of its non-represented employees to where we would have them begin to pay 50% of their dependent care coverage. Ultimately, we were not successful. We did it in the executive resolution, we did it in the management professional technical resolution, and with our deputy chiefs, that after a certain point in time, if you were hired on, or in this case elected, appointed to a position, that you would pay for 50% of essentially the monthly premium for any dependents that you had on the plan. Rolling forward the last decade into this round of resolution changes, we ultimately saw that we were not successful in taking the whole city to that 50% dependent coverage. So what we elected to do was bring forward a series of recommendations to the city council that, in the name of equity, kind of evened out what we were asking the various employees in our non-represented groups to pay for their healthcare coverage. And that was the 25% range, rather than the 50% that's for anybody hired after, I think it's July of 2010. So that's the one change that we are making here. We would make it in this resolution, we would make it in the elected resolution, and then in the executives as well.
So in essence, we're going back to a benefit that existed prior to the Great Recession.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Further questions? Okay, seeing none, this is a public hearing, so I'll open it to the public. Anyone in the audience like to speak to this particular action? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for action. Questions for Neil first? Okay, Mr. Smith, I'm sorry.
No, I'll make a motion when we're ready.
Looking for a motion then.
Okay, I move to approve resolution number 3326, establishing certain benefits offered to the city attorney and municipal court judges.
Mr. Dare.
Second that.
Moved by Mr. Smith, seconded by Mr. Dare to approve 10.1 as outlined by staff. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Okay, go ahead, Neil. 10.2, public hearing, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of resolution number 3327, establishing certain benefits offered to the mayor and the city council. Go ahead, Neil.
Okay, for the record, Neil Kreutz, Assistant City Manager. I've covered most of the background in the first item. This is similar to the first one in that we are creating a standalone resolution for the mayor and city council and removing the reliance or reference to the executive resolution. But in as much as we remove the car allowance and the cell phone allowance from the executive, if strictly speaking we did that, it would be essentially removing those same benefits from you. And that was not an intent here. So as part of the separation and writing a standalone resolution, we are including those existing benefits for you. So essentially you will see no change in what you've got, but you will have a standalone resolution that preserves your existing benefits. The one change that we are offering you, asking you to vote on, is the same change that we spoke to in that going from 50% of dependent care coverage for employees hired after a certain date or elected after a certain date, in this case, down to the 25% range. We don't have anybody in that right now that's paying that level of benefit, so there is not a financial impact with that. So similar to the first one, there is no financial impact related to consideration of this resolution today. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Mr. Lawson.
I just want to reiterate that we're not giving the council a raise. We're going to be the same pay regardless.
Yes, sir.
Where we were yesterday and where we'll be tomorrow.
Where you will be tomorrow.
Same pay.
Your pay is tied to what's going on at the county commission level, sir.
I know it'll get misconstrued that we gave ourselves a raise, but that's not what is
That's not the
occurring here.
case.
Ivy.
Neil, and I'm just going to state for principle's sake.
Yes.
I think 50%, paying 50% of dependents coverage insurance premiums is most generous coming out of the private sector. I mean, I'm just amazed at the benefits that we do get, and I appreciate them, but the 50% I don't think is asking a lot, and to go to 25%, and I understand why you're trying to make equitable amongst all groups, but if any of you go outside to any other private enterprise, my other job, my husband's job, doesn't pay for my insurance premiums. And I understand at this time, none of us are taking advantage of it. So there's no fiscal impact now, but there's possible on all of these, there's possible fiscal impact down the road for any of us that should choose to have dependent coverage covered by the city. It will cost the city, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I'm just statement of objection because I think that 50% is more than generous, and I don't expect 25%, but I understand where you're coming from, so I just needed to make that statement. Thank you.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Did you say that our cell phone allowance and car allowance will be rolled into our base pay, or no?
No, sir,
Okay,
they will
that's-
not.
That's what I just want to be clear on.
Anyone else? You got a question, Chris? Public hearing. This is a public hearing item. I'll open it to the public. Anyone in the public like to speak to this particular item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council for action. Any questions? Mr. Dare?
I'll just make a motion, and I do think equity across the board is what the best protocol for most of these kind of things. I move to approve resolution number 3327, establishing certain benefits offered to the mayor and the city council.
Second, Mr. Lawson.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Dare, seconded by Mr. Lawson to approve agenda item 10.2, resolution number 3327. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimous, oops, I'm sorry, passes 4-1. Thank you. 10.3, public hearing, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of resolution number 3328 for executive employees for the period of July 1, 2017 through June 30th, 2020. Go ahead, Neil.
Good afternoon again, Mayor Martini and members of the City Council. For the record, Neil Kreutz, Assistant City Manager, here in the third case today with an employee pay resolution for your executive team. As the mayor indicated, it is intended to cover a 3-year period, and it has a number of different components in it, which I'll go through here very quickly. The first one is a cost of living adjustment for employees within that group, and it is proposed over 3 different increments, matching each of the fiscal years. For the year that we're in, we're seeking approval of a 1.8% cost of living adjustment to the base salary rate in effect for the current period. That is based on the CPI for cities our size, and very consistent with what we've negotiated with both our collective bargaining units and what you've approved for the other resolution groups. The second and third years are based on a range of that CPI between no less than 1% and no more than 3%. Again, using a CPI representative of cities the size of Sparks to be determined in December of every year so that we have the appropriate number to go through our budget process so that we make sure we are complying with the law and appropriately categorizing our expenditures and comparing those against our revenues. So that will take care of the cost of living adjustment section. The second section I've already spoken to in some detail, and that is the elimination of the auto allowance and the cell phone reimbursement, and essentially converting those into base pay. And the net cost impact of that is that then those become part of your executive employees' PERS compensable wages. And so there will be additional costs to the city to cover those expenses that will be enjoyed by the employees in retirement. There is no change in what your employees will receive in their paycheck or in their pocket every other Wednesday, if you will. That will be offset, to the penny by what is proposed here. The third is the same the reduction in dependent care monthly premium from 50% for employees hired after July 1st of 2010. And again, we don't have anybody in the executive group right now that meets that criteria. And just falling back to anybody hired after July 1st of 2006 would pay the 25% rate. So that again is in the name of equity across ranks. The third is to match up what you've already approved in our mid-management professional technical group, and that is changes to the sick leave conversion and sick leave cash out tables that do allow employees to become eligible earlier in their career for a greater cash out or a greater transfer. The logic there is that similar to our management professional technical folks, we do tend to bring people into those levels and into the department head levels sometimes in a mid-career state. They're not going to be here for 30 years and have the opportunity to build that up. So we feel like it ought to progress a little more quickly. The third one is a section that speaks to upon non-service related death of an employee, that a one-time payment equal to the employee's sick leave balance, subject to the cash out schedule that I just spoke to, would be paid to the employee's estate if they were to pass. And then finally, really more of a cleanup item than anything is allowing the financial services director some discretion to pay any remaining balance if it's nominally over the $15,000 or $25,000 caps that are already in the agreement. Right now, you can cash out, in the sick leave cash out, up to $25,000 a year, and then any remaining balance is paid out a year later. The intent here is that if the balance is $25,400, that the finance director would have the authority to say, yes, let's just write one check. Let's not carry that $400 for the next year and move on. So those are the substantial changes that are proposed for your consideration here today, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Kreutz? Ed Lawson.
So once again, for historical fact, or hysterical, whatever, this group took the largest pay decrease during the Great Recession also, if I remember correctly.
In concert with management, professional, technical, yes, it did, absolutely. But I wouldn't want to say it was just the executives that took the highest, amount. I would want to lump us in with our management, professional, technical folks.
Yeah, and that's true. I'm saying across the board, but this group was part of that
Yes,
took
sir.
the highest percentage of reduction. So it would save the city a lot of money at a time when we really needed to. So for that reason and for the great work that you guys do anyways, that I'm all for this.
Questions? Any more questions, Mr. Dale?
I just didn't, what's the benefit of not having it as a car allowance? Is it just because of the retirement PERS portion? Is there anything else to it? When we're moving it over, if that all passes and everything, is it one way better than another? Is it better for our accounting? Is it?
It's better for our employees. It will mean higher payouts in retirement. Because right now, of the car allowance and the cell phone allowance is not looked at PERS as pay that your retirement is calculated on. It's just pay that comes to the employee and they're compensated in the moment and then it's done. By converting it into base pay, then the city will pay a little bit more into PERS each time we send PERS money. And then when employees retire, they will enjoy a higher base salary, if you will, that the PERS calculations are done against. So they will see more money in their pocket in their retirement years.
And then on the base salary, is there a different tax now that it's over, instead of it being, now that it's part of their base pay, is Social Security, everything shift as well? Is that part of what you?
Well, right now it's all taxed.
So it's all same.
It's all taxed. So it shouldn't impact somebody's individual situation because they're already seeing it on their W-2s each year. Gotcha. It's only the PERS compensation portion that is the benefit for the employee.
Any more questions? Okay, this is a public hearing item, so I'll open it to the public. Anyone in the audience like to make a comment on this particular item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for action. Anyone? Questions? Motions? Mr. Smith?
I move to approve resolution number 3328 for executive employees for the period of July 1, 2017 through June 30th, 2020.
Second, Mr. Abbott?
I'll second it.
Okay?
Okay, yeah. Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Abbott to approve agenda item 10.3.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you, Neil. 10.4 is public hearing, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of amendment number 1 to the city manager Stephen W. Driscoll's employment agreement, AC 5366, to increase the salary and benefits commensurate with other city resolutions. Carry on.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Mindy Falk, Human Resources Manager. I am very happy to present the last of our employee contract changes for this cycle, and that would be for our city manager, Steve Driscoll. On May 8th, 2017, the City Council voted to approve the new contract for Mr. Driscoll, but at that time had voted to delay any salary or benefit discussions until after the resolutions and contracts were completed. With the last vote, we were completed, so we're here today to ask for a similar cost of living adjustment as the executive resolution, which is 1.8%. And then also to move the car allowance and cell phone allowance into base pay, just like you just voted for the executives. And this would be retroactive to July 10th, 2017. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Questions? No mas, okay.
I do have a question,
Well
sir.
then,
Is this effective if we pass this now, or is it retroactive back to July 1?
To July 10th.
July 10th? Okay.
Yes, that's the first full pay period after July 1st.
Okay, thank you.
And this is just 1 year. I'll come back to you in May.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no more questions. This is a public hearing item. Open to the public. Anyone want to speak to this particular item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for action or questions. Mr. Abbott,
I'd like to make a motion.
please.
I move to approve amendment number 1 to the city manager Stephen W. Driscoll's employment agreement to include the proposed salary and benefit changes.
You have a second, Miss Bybee, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I second.
Motion by Mr. Abbott, second by Miss Bybee. Any further discussion? Questions? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Yes, go ahead, sir.
Just a comment. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the opportunity to continue to serve the city of Sparks and its citizens.
We appreciate it too, Mr. Driscoll, so carry on.
I'd like to say one.
You got a comment? Go ahead.
One of the things so I've been on here for a year now and had the honor of working with Steve Our City, with everybody, and I get to work around with all the different cities and things like that. And I got to tell you, we have a pretty awesome crew here. We have an awesome city, and thank you. And it's been an honor. And I'll tell you, there's a lot that goes on. I don't know that I ever realized how much actually goes on behind the scenes and how many things you get to keep up with. So thank you, and it's an honor.
There's nothing that goes on behind the scenes, really. Any other, let me go right there. So let's go to comments. Comments from the public? Anyone in the public like to speak? Go ahead, sir. So I've already got a card for you, do I not?
Yes, you do, Mayor.
I knew it.
For the record, my name is Ron King, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'm really grateful for you for acknowledging the A1 group and the proclamation. I saw a little bit of surprise in some of your faces about the lack of medical advice or medical direction that we're receiving in this area. I can testify to that being the case. In the last month, I have received a letter from my GI doctor who is quitting his practice in December. I've also received a letter from 2 of my neurosurgeons who are also leaving the area to be practicing in other parts. We are headed towards a medical catastrophe in this area. And I would like to encourage each of you as individuals. I know there's not much you can do as a council, but I'd like to encourage each of you as individuals to do whatever you can say, speak up whenever you can. We've got this alleged population explosion coming. Who's going to take care of us? Who's going to take care of everybody else? We old guys are dying. You bet. We're dying fast. And just to let you know, my age, I was a disc jockey back in the 50s and 60s. And to me, a disc was about this big around and had a hole in the center. That tells you how old I am. And so I've been around the block, been around the world several times, and I just felt that I needed to say this. And in line with this, I have, because of the catastrophe and because I have had medical physicians here in this valley tell me, I won't treat you, I can't treat you, go away. And so I have transferred all of my medical practices to the Mayo Clinic in Phoenix, Arizona. And I'm an established patient there. I have the physicians call me and check on my condition. And so if there's anything that you feel that you can do personally, whenever you can, we need to somehow solve this. Get more in, get more training, get people more concerned. Thank you very much.
I think I have some of those discs with the holes in them still at home.
I'm sorry?
I have some of those discs with a little hole, big hole in them at home still have some of those.
Right.
so.
I also did the big disc with the little hole.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. I'm on the same track. Jacqueline Miller? Welcome.
My name is Jacqueline Miller. I live at 2195 Stoneview in the Vistas. And I realize that the contract developer pulled the zoning issues at this time. He wants to revisit them and start over with his plan. So it's like we're dealing with a clean slate of the unknown. That's how I feel. But I did want to come before you today, and I would like to state, first of all, that I thank you all for your service. As a citizens of Sparks, I really appreciate all of you. What I wanted to say, first of all, is that for my husband and myself, the development is very personal because we reside at the very roundabout section. Our home sits on that roundabout. We will be looking out at the development from our back area. And right now, the changes that are proposed, and we don't know what they are now, but if there is a development there, the increase of traffic, et cetera, that you've all heard about on the roundabout really actually affects the use of our yard and our back area. So I would ask that in the future, whatever is proposed, that you keep us in mind, those of us that sit so directly there, that you may ask of the developer that he put some kind of wall that mitigates some of the traffic noise and construction noise at his cost. Not to the city, but at his cost, because it is unbelievable the noise that's already there. And once they start to develop it and bring in the big trucks and whatever has to happen, I just hope that you'll keep it in mind. And I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jacqueline. Anyone else for public comment? Sir? And I think I already have a card for you, do I not? You know, sir, normally we don't have, this is not a question and answer
Oh, okay.
period.
Well, maybe I'll just bring it to your attention.
Bring something
About-
to my
about-
attention and we'll have somebody contact you to answer your question or we'll
Okay.
tell you who to call.
You want me to walk away now?
What's
Step
that?
away? You want me to step away?
No, just tell me what your
Okay.
problem is and we'll have
The
somebody
thing
contact
is,
you.
the thing is that I'm trying to get at is that about a month ago, I read in the newspaper, and I don't have a clue who this company is. This big corporation is going to be suing Reno and Sparks. And our possible cost will be somewhere around $2.4 million. Has anyone thought about how to deal with this thing?
I'm sure when our finance director heard it might cost us 2.4 million, his ears went straight up in the air and we will, if we haven't, we will be very soon. And did we find out who that is? No? We do, okay, all right, we do know who it is, so.
Good.
Jeff, would you mind contacting this gentleman and talking to him? If you want to give the clerk your phone number.
Sure.
And name, and then he will contact you and talk to you about it. I
Great.
think we've all heard about it, it was in the paper, so.
Thank
It was an overpayment of business license or something like
Yeah.
that, by 27 million?
Sales tax.
Sales tax by $27 million or something like that. Okay, someone will contact you and let you know what's going on. Anyone else, public comment? Never want you to stop working there, Jeff. Okay, let's go to 12.2 comments from the city council and city manager. Mr. Smith.
You know, I just want to, we've been talking about the Veterans Memorial Dinner now for a year, and we had it on the 2nd of November. It's been the most productive dinner that we've had in our 3 dinners. We raised a lot of money for our Veterans Memorial Plaza. I want to thank, there's a lot of people in the room here that came that night. It was a fantastic evening, and look for us again next year, and I believe it's gonna be at the Nugget on November the 8th, so, thank you.
Mr. Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have three items. The first is an announcement. The term will expire for the following committee at the end of December 2017. Sparks Planning Commission, 1 member, 4-year term. Persons interested in serving on this committee should complete a volunteer application available from the clerk's office. Can also apply online for the city's website, www.cityofsparks.us. Click on Government on the webpage, then click Volunteering for Sparks Board or Commission. Complete a volunteer application. Applications will be accepted until the close of business on December 15th, 2017. My second item is that it was determined today by the managers of both Washoe County, Reno, and Sparks that the proposed special concurrent meeting for December 4th for a presentation on homeless services needs to be rescheduled. There are some items that are not ready for update at this point. So the December 4th meeting that's on your calendars, and actually I believe they were removed today, that will not happen. We will be discussing the homeless services at the February 2018 concurrent meeting. The mayor and I have had some conversations about concurrent meetings in general. So the managers and I are going to get together and talk about future agendas, future calendars, and kind of what we're trying to accomplish with those versus what we've not accomplished in the past. So I just wanted to let you know that I'll be having that meeting in addition, since this concurrent meeting was, very adamant about getting it done, and then in the very last minute got pulled for something that should have been done, in my opinion, more than 30 days ago.
Can I make a comment about that, Steve, before you're done with your third one?
Sure.
I think it's time for us maybe to sit down as a council in the open, in public, and talk about concurrent meetings, which are getting to be more and more of a pain in the rear that gets scheduled and then nobody shows up. Most of the time we are there as a council. At least we have a quorum when we go there. Once in a while, we have issues too and we can't make it, but not very often. Sparks is at the table, ready to talk about things. I've been missing from some of the meetings lately due to technical difficulties, but Steve has always been there to discuss what we want to discuss as a regional body. And I think in the last, well, let's just put it this way so you can figure out where the line started. In 2014, we were doing pretty well in talking about regional items. Well, after the 2014 elections, I don't see that same cooperation between the three entities or the three leaders of those entities talking about regional items. And I think it's time for us to either start talking about important regional items that affect us all, or get out of the gosh darn concurrent meetings and discuss them ourselves, get them out in the public and open, so people know what's going to happen in the future in these, in this, not only Sparks, but in this region. People have a right to know what's going to happen in this region in the future. I think that's it's very critical.
So, Mr. Mayor, if I might, I will take that as direction for my conversation with my peers.
Please.
Thank you. Anything else on that topic, sir?
Anyone else?
So my third item, I know we're just in the middle of November, but normally in the last couple of years, especially because of the timing, we have not conducted a second meeting in December. This year, the regularly scheduled council meeting would be on Tuesday, December 6th, coming off of the Christmas holiday. So unless there's objection, I have no pressing business from staff that has December 26th as a due date. So unless I hear objections from the council, we will be canceling the December 26th regular meeting. We would conduct any business necessary either on the first meeting of December or the first meeting of January.
I would be okay with that, Steve, if we canceled it and did it on the 25th instead.
I'll be happy to be there, sir. It'll just be you and me, I'm thinking. I don't think there'll be a quorum. So, good. So with hearing no objections, we will cancel the December 26th meeting. Thank you, that's all I have.
Vote, they can't vote. Yeah. Anyone else? Comments? Okay, seeing no more business, we are adjourned. Thank you.